All right, family, it's Tasha Mamabear Prepping. You already know what time it is. Get your drink pulled up. I've had quite the morning. We have no internet right now at all, no Wi-Fi. Come to find out they're doing some major maintenance right now to hopefully make it faster in the area. So we shall see. Let me just look at this text real quick, you guys. I know this is super rude. Yep, okay. So that was just a confirmation of the timelines. Okay, you guys. So, every morning I get my drink. It's early in the morning. I do these videos when I first wake up. Okay, so sometimes people are awake, sometimes they're not. That's how early sometimes I get these videos done. And I always kind of just make my coffee, sit down, grab my notebook, and I literally just think, what should I discuss? And in a lot of that, I'm asking God, give me discernment, give me, what should I be discussing, Lord, right? What should I be sharing? And some mornings it's very hard. It doesn't just come to me, right? It's very like, I don't know what I'm talking about. But when I wake up, I do not know what I'm going to talk to you guys about the same day. So when you get it in the afternoon, I woke up, I had no idea what I was going to talk to you about. Today, I just had the same feeling. It wasn't coming to me. I was kept asking, please tell me what I should talk about. And I just hate to do it, but this is what's on my mind, and it's monkeypox. It's what's going on right now with this. It's my level of concern. It's my mama bear all the way in my gut feeling that this is not good. This is not going to be good. And what can we do, right? How do you get ready? I did a video yesterday. I've done another video before on tiny pox, and things you can do, things you can get. And this video today is not that. It's not to tell you what to do. It's not to tell you what to buy. It's just to discuss this topic and what do I personally think this means for us, what I personally think this is going to, what's going to ensue, what's going to happen, right? I just hate, it makes my stomach, I'm sick, right? But this is the stuff that I think is going to happen. Now, what I will tell you right now, my number one thing of what's going to happen is I pray that nothing happens, that, okay, maybe we get a few more cases in the United States, but they nip it in the butt. It doesn't really go anywhere. In 2003, there was like 47 cases. Hey, we have a few cases. Nobody dies and everything's okay, and it fizzles out. They're able to get ahead of it, and we're fine, right? That is what I would like to see happen. That is what I would love. I would love for it to go away, for them to stop talking about it on the news, for everybody to stop talking about it on YouTube. I would just like it to go away. That's what I would like. However, we know that something bigger is coming. We know that there's something bigger in play. It may not even be this, okay? To me, in my opinion, I think it's tiny pox. That's what I think. Not that right now what's happening is tiny pox, but I think that's the bigger thing that is going to happen to us one day. That it's a planned evolution. And that's just my tinfoil hat wearing opinion, okay? Take that for what you want. What I think is going to happen, though, if this does continue to move towards infections, more people getting this, people getting, being ill, whatever, right? This keeps moving forward with more cases. I think we're in for a repeat, right? An exhaustive repeat of what we've dealt with for the last 2 or 3 years. That's what I think we're in for. An exhaustive repeat. But there's aspects of that make it concerning for me, because this wouldn't be the same thing, right? I think that at the top of it, you would have media misinformation. We already are seeing that. If you're paying attention, if you're reading anything, and if you're like, oh, you're reading into it, like I had a subscriber and she shared with me that she had shared some stuff with her husband as she's reading an article, and she's in the article, she's seeing differences from the same person, right, in the article, talking about saying one thing and then saying something else, right? Saying, hey, it's not of concern. However, we are concerned as scientists, right? Seeing this and sharing it with her husband, and her husband like, are you sure you're really reading into this stuff? Yeah, I'm really reading into this stuff. Now, it wasn't me, but I just spoke for her, right? Yes. Okay. Eyes are open, reading stuff, paying attention. Okay. I read something that was disturbing this morning, that don't be alarmed. The government doing the order for the tiny pox has nothing to do with the current monkeypox outbreak. Okay, but that's even more concerning, okay, to me. And that even fosters and validates me and my concern about a tiny pox outbreak later. That is helping me believe in that, okay? That is bolstering that. That's alarming, right? I think it's going to be crazy. And I think us trying to figure out and navigate through this media circus is going to be, it's going to be hard. I think the one thing that you can depend on is, hey, when they're telling you, hey, there's a new case here, hey, there's a new case here, and they do their fancy maps, color coded of different states, and this state is blowing up with the cases and all this stuff, right, that we do right now. I think that stuff is safe-ish to understand and just get, and just know quickly, okay, these are the states that stuff's happening in. Here's where they have cases. Okay, across the board, has there been any deaths? Like, that's just broad across what I'd be paying attention to in the news, okay? I definitely would not be believing anything they say, okay? They're all saying the same stuff. A lot of it is the same stuff that you can find on, if you Google. But how safe is Google, okay? It's all the same, corrupt, whatever, right? They ask this question, this is what we'll tell them, right? And then I'm sitting there like, well, Google told me, right? As if that's better than the media. It's not, okay? So you need to do your own research with stuff. If you're trying to find out information, you can Google because that's kind of the only thing we have, right? But go down the rabbit holes, really re-ask questions, ask holistic type information. Look back when we actually dealt with this, and what people did, right? Don't take everything that they're saying for gospel, because baby, it ain't. It is not gospel, okay? And pray on it. Speaking of, pray on it. Pray on what you're supposed to do, okay? So I think that a lot of media misinformation is going to happen, continue to happen. It's already happening. But I think that it's okay to get some basic information across the board so that basically, hey, what states is this in? How many cases? Is there deaths? That type of thing, okay? Just so you can kind of stay savvy, right? I think that panic is going to set in. And in this case, I think that because the death percentage is higher, a little bit higher than COVID, it's 1 to 3% for this strand. But again, what do we know about this strand? What do we know about this mutation? Because it is acting a little differently, and people are getting it much easier. And so I don't know that I just trust the theory of hey, this is the exact percentage, right, that would die. I think that when you say 1 to 3, 2%, 3%, I mean, that's quite a bit more deaths, okay, or possibility of deaths. But we'll just see, okay? Children are much more susceptible to this. This is going off of data from before, you guys. Children, very, very susceptible to it. However, back then the deaths typically stayed in the 45 plus age range. What is interesting now, though, is you do have quite a few people in that age range now, though, that are that age range now and older that have been vaccinated, whether that's through the military, whether that's just from their age and that they went through the last smallpox, crisis, right? And they were vaccinated. So that's the difference of what we might see in deaths. I think that, immune compromised folks, That's common sense, right? That's not me being any kind of doctor. I think that if you have other underlying medical conditions with anything that comes through, you should be concerned. You could get the flu and you should be concerned, right? Not concerned, but those people's bodies are a little bit weaker. Okay. Common sense. I just think that panic will set in when deaths start. Okay. When deaths start, and I don't think when they just first start, oh, there's a death, this person had monkeypox and they died. I think that when people start realizing maybe if, and this is again, big if deaths started to really ramp up and people started realizing it was more and more prevalent, and higher and quicker and faster than what we already dealt with the last couple of years, that's when you're going to see people just take like, oh man, this is something a little bit more serious, right? And panic is going to set in. If it doesn't already, you already have a lot of Americans hunkering down in regards to stockpiling more food, stockpiling more stuff because of inflation, right? Inflation is what's driving the average American to stock up on stuff. Get the stuff now, get more during sales. That's what's driving it. It's not driving people to be prepared. It's not driving it because they think that we're about to have a world, famine, right? That there's not going to be any food, that the food is going to run out in the stores. They're not stockpiling for that. The average American is stockpiling because inflation's through the roof and it keeps going up, and they are panicked because they are like, we need to make sure we get our houses in order. And that's great. That's great news. But I think you'll have a new wave of people that now think about this. All these people that dealt with, what's been going on the last 2 or 3 years, and all these people on one side of the fence of that, for the most part, right? This big turmoil. And then, you have this inflation thing. And so now they're all like, oh man, this money thing is, people are taking their money out because they're thinking about if it crashes. You have people who are stockpiling stuff because they're worried about inflation and they'd rather get that extra, whatever now. Vice is trying to buy it tomorrow because they know tomorrow it's more. So you have more people doing that. And then you take another crisis, a new crisis. And as soon as you see super deaths, something more than what they just dealt with, it's going to just throw them over the edge, okay? It's going to just make that average American now be like, oh man, what's happening, okay? And then they're going to panic, okay? And I think that's going to be driven. If it happens, it will be driven by the amount of deaths, okay? I don't think it will be driven by hospitalizations because that's just a common sense thing. Hospitals get filled when stuff is happening, right? I think though that it's going to be, if it happens, the amount of deaths that does it, as far as pushing the rest of those people over. Like enough is enough. This is crazy, and makes them now panic, and it makes them actually start thinking we're out for ourselves, right? We saw how the government handled this last one. We see the government, how we're handling inflation and gas and all this stuff. And then now this comes along and they're like, hey, do this, do this, do this. You're going to have more people that are going to start saying, no, man, what's going on? Like, this is too much. Okay. I think complacency, and I think it's two things. So I just said, hey, people are going to be coming up and realizing, but I also think that there's a group that is going to be complacent, which is already bothering me because I'm already hearing people tell me this. Well, I had the vaccine before. I'm fine. I'm not concerned with it. We had chicken pox. We're fine. We're not concerned with it. The news is saying don't be concerned with it, so I'm not concerned with it. I would tell you that unless you've had smallpox, unless you've had monkeypox, you're not immune, and you should not be walking around as if you're fine and you have a super cape on. Most of those vax that we took, us older folks took either in the military or because we went through that time period, who knows the effectiveness of that now. Do I think there's some sort of protection? Absolutely. Absolutely. I do. However, we don't know how this is mutating. We don't know how this has changed into. We don't know what has even possibly been made. Okay. We don't know what's going on. All right. So you can't assume that something you had before is going to cover you when we don't really understand what is happening. You have scientists in these articles saying they're concerned because this is not acting right. This is not normal what is happening right now around the world in the capacity that is happening. Right. So there's pause. Please give pause to that. Okay. But you're going to have people that are complacency in that. And then on the side of what we've gone through the last 2-3 years, COVID, you have people that are going to be complacent because of that. They went through that whole ordeal. They're sick to death of it. And then you bring in something else where they can see the writing on the wall and the same stuff's about to happen again. Complacency. And you have folks on both sides of that. You have folks that weren't paying attention or didn't want the other jab of what happened, and now maybe don't want this other one, but maybe this other one is perfectly fine. Like, it's just really hard to decipher. I mean, we've been vaccinated our whole lives, right? Obviously military, who knows what's inside me. And then also, children, my children have been vaccinated this whole, forever, right? However, it was a different, the brakes were put on big time this last year, okay? And we did not, okay? We did not move forward with that. Hubby did that because he was still in the service. He still had to do what he had to do. But no, okay? No, not for my children. But then you have a whole other dynamic. And now there's not fear, but there's hesitancy. It's like, what? Another one? Now I don't know what's what. And I don't like it. Okay. And I don't want us to even go down that path, but you have people, no matter what side of the fence they were on, and their values and their beliefs. And then you go into this and how it unfolds, what people are going to do, what choices people are going to make, and what's going to happen. Okay. I think that you can expect travel shut down. That's a no-brainer. I think if again, all of this is if, you guys, if this gets bad, I think you absolutely should expect travel shut down. That's not just airplanes and trains and all that, but I think this is where that going over lines would be drawn in the sand, right? State to state travel, local stuff. Buses, taking the bus to work, subways in big cities that have subways, the subways. What's crazy is it's going to be dependent on what CDC and WHO, all these places, right, that what they tell us to do, right? And so instead of, and what is, it's just exhausting thinking about where this could go. Okay. And what is going to be deemed the thing and the recommendations that we should do to make sure that you do not pass this on. But the problem is going to be, how is it even being passed on? Because it's not acting like it's supposed to do, right? This should be just bodily fluids. That's why you have a lot of people saying that they're getting it because they're having interactions with other humans, right? And that's how they're getting it, right? But as far as like traditionally, getting it skin to skin, you have to already have that rash and bumps and be exposed to that being on clothing or bedding or something and being exposed to that. It's not supposed to be airborne. It's not supposed to be like you just, I'm just possibly riding on a bus with you. I shouldn't be able to just get it from you like that. We're not having sex on the bus. We're not making out on the bus. Possibly they say that droplets are very, very low. So maybe if we're like spitting in each other's faces, it's just very alarming of how fast this is spreading. It's just very alarming, and that it's all at once, all over these countries. And these countries are exploding with cases, right? It shouldn't be exploding with cases. I mean, it's just, okay, I'll just get off of that. Travel shutdown. That's what I think you should expect. Travel. Next thing is just total exhausting repeat of the last few years, right? Anywhere people can put in mandates, agendas, policies, I think you should expect business shutdowns, counties and states and federal telling us what to do, where to do it, where we can go, where we cannot go, lockdowns, quarantines, all these discussions. I would not be surprised if masks, come back, because let me tell you, they're talking about droplets really don't matter, but this thing's different. And then all of a sudden I just can hear them on there like, well, it's not how you get it, but we think this is what's going to work. And it's like, but then mind you have all these people, making out and having sex, and that's, bodily fluids, right? It's exhausting, and I'm fearful, or wary of people's reaction as this happens because of what we just happened. And a lot of people will tell you that they think COVID was conditioning, right? Was to get us ready was the warm up, right? It was the pregame. And if it's not feeling like that, that's the bad part, is it's actually feeling like that. Okay. What could be differences to expect? I think that hospitals would be overloaded. Now with tiny pox and stuff like that, you're not supposed to go to the hospital. Hospitals are not supposed to really take those patients, but they're gonna treat patients. They're gonna treat symptoms. They're gonna have patients that come in that they didn't know had that, right? That didn't know they had that. And I just think that the hospitals to say, the hospitals are going to be overran. Okay. I think it's going to be, has the potential to be way worse than what we went through already. And, I think that because of that, the policy, what we'll be putting out is, look, if you get this, if you have this, whatever, you need to stay home. It's 2 to 4 weeks. I think you're going to hear that over and over and over. No big deal. It's 2 to 4 weeks. You stay home, you stay quarantined. That's what I think it's going to be. Quarantine. And you stay in your home for 2 to 4 weeks. It'll be interesting to see how businesses move forward with this. But it's going to be all the same stuff. I think you should expect movements at work, movements with schools, with kids. All of that stuff is going to be affected. Okay. And so all you can do is, kind of go off of what we dealt with, but think a little bit worse, right? And what you still need in your home and to get in your home to get ready for this, the possibility of this. I think there's going to be more emphasis on deaths. I think that the news will talk about hospitalizations and deaths like they did, but I think deaths is where they're going to make their money. I think that is where they get compliance 100%. When you have something that is more deadly, and when people are dying, that's more fear, right? It's just like right now. If you told me if Ebola was going through something major with like a 30% death rate, and you were like, line up for your vaccine, let me tell you, I'm lining up, right? And it's scary because a lot of people be like, you'd line up now after all the lies they've told, right? And it's scary, but death like that, something that kills, like 100%, it kills people, right? That makes you rethink what should I be doing. Now, at the end of the day, we'll pray. We will pray and we will do what we're told by God to do. If he's like, get this, we'll get it. But if any part of him says no, and we're like, in our guts, we're like, okay, no, it's not happening. Okay. But I think that's how you get compliance when people, so that's going to be the emphasis is the deaths. If this gets bad, it's going to be the deaths is what they're going to emphasize on. I think they're going to have emphasis on our kids. 100%. Like I said before, children are very susceptible to this. Deaths weren't that high in children. However, this is different. And can you imagine if it does turn and then it is attacking our children? It is more fierce against our children. It is killing our children. Just imagine you have 4 or 5 kids and you see this running through the country and 2 of your children have died and you've managed to get through it and you still have 3 children, right? As a mother and a father, don't tell me you wouldn't be thinking about, I need to do something. How can I get this vaccine? Whatever the case may be. Okay. I'm not saying you would. I'm just saying it changes the game. It changes how people are going to react. And you could be all day long, I'm not going to comply. I'm not going to comply. I'm not going to comply. You don't know until you're in it, okay? And you better be on your knees praying every single day during this situation if it gets bad, okay? I think this is going to ramp up for more conversations and more emphasis on tiny pox. I think this is where they mount us and get us ready for that conversation of tiny pox. Tiny pox coming. It's going to be a bioweapon. Somebody's going to get us with it. We're ready. You see us. We were preparing. We had all these vaccines. We have a whole plan to get all these vaccines all the way through 2025. We got this. We're prepared. We're being proactive. La 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 la. And so that they've built up this, whatever the story is behind that, so when it happens, people aren't freaking out. They kind of know, oh, we went through COVID, then we went through monkeypox, and then now we started talking and having the conversations about tiny pox again, and yada yada yada. It goes on and on and on. But that's what I think is going to be different this time around. But really, it's an exhaustive repeat of the last few years in regards to trying to decipher what is happening around you, which then makes you decide which direction you go with things, which things you prepare, which items you get, moves you make. Do your children go to school, homeschool or not? Do you work from home or not? Decisions need to be made now to get you and your home prepared. You should already be thinking about things in the realm of recession, recession proof. You should be thinking about, the inflation, recession, the stock market, when all that crumbles, famine, no food. That should have already been something you're kind of getting your house ready for. And now you have a whole new bad boy. But you kind of have a little bit of experience. So just be paying attention. Be reading everything you can do. Go down the rabbit holes in Google to try to find the other pieces of information, the other little tidbits of info that you can find, because maybe it's not that easy to find. Because obviously, if you just ask one question, just ask a couple things, Google's always just going to give you what they're supposed to give you, if that makes sense. Okay. And it takes you reading into articles, which maybe give you another article, which then maybe send you down a rabbit hole with this. And then you get some information about, go look at this person, go look at this website, go look at this article, go read this, right? You start getting all this information in pieces and you put it together, and then you do that. And of course you pay attention still to the news and what's going on, but I think that that's just smart as far as overall glossy picture of numbers and, how close is it to you? How close is it to your state? What are the deaths looking like? That type of thing. So listen, again, I pray to God that we do not have to deal with any of this stuff. Okay. A lot of people would be like, hey, who cares? Let's just get it. It lasts 2 to 4 weeks. Let's just get through it. Now we're immune, possibly well immune even towards tiny pox. Let's just get through it. But the problem is, what is it exactly? That should be something you're thinking about. What is this exactly? It's not like, oh, let's just, hey, if I get it, I get it. And, I don't know. All I know is get your house in order, get it ready so that you're prepared. This won't be in vain, because even if this doesn't go anywhere, I'm a firm believer tiny pox is coming one day. And, our government ordering millions and millions and millions and millions of doses over the next 2-3 years should give you pause. For our elites to get on and do multiple articles over the years of saying that we will be attacked with the bioweapon of tiny pox, that should give you concern. That should give you concern. Okay. So I hope you guys are well. This video was actually pretty hard for me to do because I didn't know what to talk about. This was what kept coming to my gut to talk about. I still didn't want to do it. So I struggled a lot to even bring you this video today. But I hope that you got something out of it, some kind of dialogue, some kind of discussion, some kind of thought-provokingness came out of it, to help you be prepared and have some sort of like on the ready about this, right? On the ready, paying attention. Okay. I'm not saying it's here. I'm saying be on the ready. You're on the lookout. You're at the ready. so that you're prepared when this turns, if it turns, when it turns. Okay. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys have a blessed week this week. Get the things done. Be productive, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.